Hey, this is the Blueprint Podcast, and I'm really excited to talk to you like every week. Maybe not every week, every once in a while when I feel like doing this. I've been wanting to do a podcast for a while. I actually had one a few years back with a friend of mine, and that was really fun. But now we're in a real podcast room with fancy equipment that I don't know how to use. Shout out Fab Factory for that. Yeah, I actually have no idea what I'm doing with any of this or how any of this works. But I'm here today with Natalie, who I was actually supposed to start a podcast with 2 years ago. And we bought all the equipment, and then it sat on our kitchen table for the whole rest of the year. Did not touch it. My cat probably touched it more than we did.
And then we moved away from each other.
Yep, and then we decided we didn't like each other anymore, so we decided we couldn't stand living with each other.
And here we are now.
Yeah, I had to be okay with her being in the same room with me. It's hard sometimes.
It is hard.
Just kidding. I love her. No, we moved, and then my cat ate my equipment, and I never got to use it. So now we're here, but it makes a lot of sense to start now because I started my own company. Mm-hmm. For those that don't know, although you're probably watching this because you do know what the Blueprint is, but essentially it is a company for fans where I'm going to give fans everything that they need for the ultimate fan experience. Whether it's, making sure they have everything they need for concerts, events, working on an app. That's the part I'm most excited about. It's all stuff that I wanted at the age of 16, but also that I'd want now. So I'm super pumped. And Natalie's been super supportive since day one about all of that. So super cool. The podcast is going to be focused on the fan experience, fandom music industry pipeline. I'm going to interview some artists, some friends, talk about life, things that I like, probably the color blue every once in a while. Although you'd be surprised, I can actually talk about the color blue a lot, even though there's not much to say. But there is, at least in my mind.
Find something.
But anyways, want to talk about Natalie a little bit. So we met, I don't even know how many years ago we met.
A long time ago.
Yeah, she was like a child.
I was like 15.
Yeah. And then went to Malibu together. Had some fun experiences, and then moved in.
Malibu.
We randomly, like a couple times, we would get Airbnbs in Malibu just for no reason, but it was fun.
Then we lived with each other for a year.
That was horrible. Just kidding. No, fun fact about that. So 2 bedrooms, there were 3 of us. I made her and our other friend Angie, who you'll meet probably next week, live in the tiny room. It was like a shoebox. And then I had the massive room all to myself.
It was a humbling experience.
It was fun for me. I liked that apartment. They didn't very much.
I mean, yeah.
Living with me is hard, though.
It's not.
Are you sure?
Like, not nice? Not when you're friends with you. Like, it's not.
Yeah, but I'm so messy.
We made it through because we're still here right now.
Okay, that's true.
And then I moved out.
Yeah.
With Angie. And then I moved out of Los Angeles after that.
Yeah, she lives not here anymore, which is sad because she decided she hates us.
Love my friends here so much. Do not fit in the Los Angeles scene, I have found.
That's okay. I don't think I fit in anywhere. Like, I wish I could live in a different place every week of my life.
That's so valid. So, because I moved out in February, and then from then I had traveled a little bit, and I went to the East Coast, which I belong over there. But it's just cool to experience different things. Like, you think you know what you want, and then you experience something else. You come back, and you're like, this is not for me anymore.
And that's okay.
And that's that. That's normal.
I would love to live in Australia.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, or London. Basically, no, just not America. No, I like places here too. Like I like LA. Mm-hmm. I like aspects of it. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I don't like people.
Yeah. I know when I talk about it, I'm like, LA is like cool. Like, if you can find what you want to do there, like, great. I just couldn't. Like, and I feel like that's normal, but
yeah. No, I mean, I will say I feel pretty lucky that I have like a pretty solid group of friends here. And not everyone is as lucky to have that. But no, one of my favorite things about Natalie is kind of the way that she looks at life and isn't scared to achieve her goals, and kind of just go after things. And she does that with her fashion.
Maya and I are similar in a sense that once we want something, we will do anything to get it. And learning by trial and error, I feel like we don't go by a mold or like the way somebody else has done it. We go our own way and kind of learn by that. And I think that's the most fitting way to figure out what's going to work for you, is not following someone else's lead. Like, you can take guidance tips and stuff from other people who are doing something similar to what you want to do, but I think ultimately, like, figuring out your own path on how you want to go about things is what makes it your own, and that's what's going to make it stand out. And when it comes to Maya, anything that she sets her heart to, she'll do. And I think the whole watching your process of experiencing, like, working in different places with the same kind of vision and figuring out, like, what worked and what didn't, what you liked and what you didn't, and then coming together, like, with your whole company with that experience as your foundation is what's going to make it, one, your own, and two, a big thing. And I'm excited to see it unfold, just because I've seen the behind the scenes, and I feel like
you've seen me, like, hit
rock bottom,
like, people, crying every single day of my life.
And people only see, like, the product of what somebody creates, but to see the background of it is super cool, and to see, like, the process of it is something I admire a lot when I'm watching somebody create something that means something to them. I love watching people create things.
Well, I think that's why we get along so well.
Yeah.
Like, in the past, like, we've gone to coffee shops and we'll sit there in silence and we're both just working.
Yeah.
And there's not very many people I'd be willing to do that with. You're really good at listening to people. Not saying that I do listen to people. I love listening. Okay, I don't love listening. I try. I don't process most of the time. Like, I'll listen. People think I'm listening, so it does the job. But then 90% of the time, I don't actually process anything that was said to me. But she actually listens and remembers, and is very much the, like, therapist friend to, I think, me and a lot of her other friends.
Yeah, which is super cool for me, because I do like listening to other people, and I like remembering small things. And then, like, because when you bring it up to somebody and you're like, oh, I remember this, they're like, wait, what?
That's my favorite thing in the world. That's,
I love doing that.
That's totally one of my love languages, because I talk a lot. So when people remember, like, little things that I don't even remember saying, and I'm like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
They're like, you told me, like, a month ago. I'm like, how do you remember things from a month ago? I don't even remember what people told me yesterday.
I think something that's important to me is staying grounded in, like, the present moment. So I'm very aware of, like, what people are saying to me, like, in that moment, and then I'll remember. Which not a lot of people are like that.
No,
because I have told people things, and then I'll talk about it, like, later on. And they're like, what?
No, I will remember how people made me feel.
Yeah.
So, like, that, like, feelings are super important to me, and, like, the emotion behind everything. And I'm also, like, a big energy person, which I know you are too. But, like, the way that someone's energy made me feel around them, like, that's what I'm going to remember. So, like, I don't have, like, when people ask me, they're like, what was your first impression of me? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't have thoughts. Like, I don't think about those things when I'm meeting someone. I'm not sitting there, like, judging anyone or trying to figure out what I think of them. But I'm going to leave, the room. I'm going to go home, whatever, and I'm going to think about how they made me feel. And, like, that's kind of how I decide whether or not someone is someone I want, surrounding me.
Yeah. I think that's really important, because ultimately, like, you know who your people are, and, like, you know how you're the only one that knows how you feel around certain people. And, like, I feel like it's a reciprocated thing, like, and that's how you find your circle of friends.
I like having a lot of friends, which that's the one thing I think we're super the opposite. Super the opposite? Is that a sentence?
Yeah, we are.
Well, it is now. We're very opposite in that, like, I love having a ton of friends. Like, I love it. I just love having people for different things, in so many different places, like, that I can talk to about, so many different things. And you're very, like, specific and want to have, like, a small circle.
Yeah, I think for me, like, having meaningful relationships is, like, super important to me. So it's not that I don't like meeting people. Like, I love meeting people, but when it comes to my circle and like who I talk to and who I put like effort into keeping the maintaining a relationship, like it's very small, but I care about everybody that I meet.
No, when someone doesn't text me back, I'm convinced they hate me, even though I know that they don't, because I also forget to text people back all the time. And it's not because I hate them. Like, if I'm in the middle of something and I read it and I don't respond right away, I'm going to forget that text exists. But that's because I, like, have really bad, like, object permanence.
No, I feel that.
Well, like, if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. That includes people.
But about the overthinking thing, I think something that has... when you're creating stuff or, like, you want to put something out to an audience, like, not caring about what other people are going to think or say about it is really important. You have to stick with that because people are going to perceive it however they want to. And like, it shouldn't matter to you, like what other people are going to think about it, because it's going to reach the people that it's supposed to, who are going to understand like what you're trying to do. And I feel like that was a big thing for me to let go of, was like the control of like,
well, when you're doing something creative and it comes from such a personal place, like it's scary.
It is scary
because if it's
vulnerability,
like, if it's like, scary. Yeah, it's like, I love this thing that I'm doing, but what if nobody gets it, or what if everybody doesn't like it? At the end of the day, the only person that has to get it or like it is you. Yeah, and you're gonna find other people out there that do. And
I feel like comparing yourself and then doing something to fit a mold that was already there is not going to get you that far. Like, you have to be vulnerable and you have to take your own path, because it's the only way it's going to bring you the success that you want.
Yeah, Natalie's seen a lot. That sounds so bad. No, but like when you live together, seen a lot. Like, you know, like she's, especially like last year, even though we actually weren't living together last year, but last year was really hard for me for a lot of different reasons. And, you know, she really got to watch kind of, even before that, like the evolution, you know, starting like 2019 is probably when we became closer friends. Mm-hmm. Like we knew each other before that, but I don't think we really started hanging out till like the end of 2019. But you really got to see the evolution of, you know, me having this idea of what I wanted and then figuring out how to make that come to life, and then it happening, and then other things happening. Yeah. And then, you know, us.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is like to see the story behind it. It means something to her, but it's also like meaningful to me too, because I was there as like a secondhand person to kind of witness the backstory of it. Yeah. Woo! Go Maya.
No, you were. I had like a little group of friends that were the only people that knew what was going on in every chapter. But kind of going back into that, you know, a lot of people know my story in the sense that I was a fan that became, you know, someone who worked in the music industry, and now I started my own company. But along the way, a lot of people don't really know the details of like how that actually happened. And I think it was engraved in me, I think mainly by myself, that everything had to be so secret and so private all the time. And then there was the phase of my life where I was embarrassed of my, you know, my story.
Yeah. There's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Well, no, I'm not embarrassed at all. Like, it is what it is, and I'm really proud of it now. But especially when you work in the music industry, I think there's this, like, idea that, like, cool, you were a fan, but you have to not, like, you have to completely detach from that when you start working. And so then I was like, okay, well, I don't want anyone to know, like, how many shows I went to, like, all of these things. A big part of why I want to do this podcast is because I want to not share everything.
But share
the important stuff.
And it's going to help the people who are too scared to do things that they want to do in regards to relating to what you're doing. Well,
I think it drives me insane when people are like, I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? And they're like, I want to do this. And I'm like, cool. And they're like, but I'm not. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, I'm just too scared. Or like, it doesn't feel possible. Or
that's hard.
It's not realistic. Yeah. And I'm like, everything is realistic. And I feel like maybe that's like a, you know, I feel like maybe that's not controversial, but like at the end of the day, I was given the foundation, you know, with my family and my parents being so supportive since day one of, you know, they just wanted me to be happy.
Yeah. I think that's important, is finding the people who are going to support you in your dreams that don't make it seem like their dreams, like,
Yeah.
or hard to reach. And I think it's hard because having limited beliefs, just like, even just for yourself, like, is really hard to get past. And I feel like that's what stops a lot of people from creating things, is because they're so scared of so many different things for
There's
so many different reasons.
You
like,
could, I mean, I haven't talked about this at all yet, but I was going to say, so I was a gymnast growing up, and I think the number one biggest, like, positive thing from that was I learned from a very young age how to conquer fears, right? Like, since I was 6 years old, I had to do terrifying things, you know, and it was all like I just had to fully trust myself and trust my coaches and trust that I'm able to do these things that they're telling me I'm able to do, and then just do it.
Yeah.
And so that, like, I had to learn that at such a young age that I've been able to kind of take that skill into different aspects of my life, except I have a couple fears that I will never overcome, and that's just how it is.
That's funny though, because so you like pushed yourself to, like, at a young age, like, pushed yourself to go through these fears. I grew up with such bad anxiety that, like, I would be too scared to do anything. And I feel like once I started learning about myself and figuring out what I was capable of, it kind of started showing, like, externally, because I started getting tattoos. I started getting piercings.
Yeah, she's
and,
like fully tatted now.
I am.
See?
I don't know if they can see it, but I, like, if you had met me before I was not the type of person that you would even think would have tattoos. And, like, I even get that, like, now, like, people would be like,
I love the tattoos though. Like, you started getting them and she went crazy.
I know. But that's what I mean, is, like, that's also, like, a small sign of, like, finding your comfort and, like, also breaking through, like, your own fears. Because, like, personally, like, I'm scared of needles, and, like, I have so many piercings, but I have tattoos, and, like,
yeah, when you got your nose piercing,
and I wanted the other side.
but I think I went the second time,
Yeah.
right? Because the second time is when I got mine done, and you were like, I can't look.
I
like,
know. Like, people are scared.
It's so funny.
People are scared to a different extent for different things, but for themselves, because for me that was, like, a big deal, but for other people that's not going to be a big deal. But, like, it just, once you break out of your shell, you kind of start doing things that, like, prove to yourself that, like, you're capable of way more than you thought you were, if you would just figure out how to escape the fear that you have in your internal monologue going on.
My internal monologue has a lot going on.
But I feel like once you find out who you are and, like, what you stand in and all of that, like, it kind of helps guide you through the anxiety and guide you through the fear of, like, certain things that you have about going towards different, because trust me, my anxiety was bad. I had bad anxiety, but it's, like, something that I can work with now. It's not something that scares me. It's kind of like,
see, I'm just scared of ketchup.
like, that's real. Like, that's
no, I'm dead serious.
It's real. Like, we didn't have ketchup in our fridge,
we weren't allowed to have it in the fridge because I can't even touch a ketchup bottle. Or,
like, we would go out to dinner and, like, they would put down the ketchup next. She's like, "Can somebody move it?"
No, it's horrible. Like, someone has to move it.
When our friends chased you.
Yeah. So our lovely friends, I think we weren't having a party that night, were we? It might have been. No, I don't think so. I think there were just, like, a group of us at a house. And one of them thought it was hilarious and took the ketchup bottle out of the fridge and started chasing me with it. And I locked myself in his bedroom. And I was like, I am not coming out.
Fear. That's true.
I was like, I will go home. Like, this is not funny. When I was, I think I was, like, 15, my bonus brother, that's what I'll call him, he put ketchup in my hair. Worst day of my life. I started crying, like, hysterically, and I ran up the stairs, and I jumped. No, because I was scared of ketchup way before this. I jumped in the shower with all of my clothes on, and I just stood there sobbing because I couldn't, like, touch my hair to, like, help it. Like, it was a horrible experience. Worst day ever.
It's okay, you're still here.
No, I actually have nightmares, though, about ketchup.
That's not
like, literally this past week, like, the nightmares that someone, like, made me eat it or, like, put it on my food and I didn't know.
But you work with it. You work with the fear and you're fine. You navigate. But that's what I mean is, like, so those are, like, specific stories about how we do it. But, like, in a general sense, like, eventually, like, when you want to really just beat the fear, like, you'll find
I feel like a lot of the time, if you're scared of something, it also means that you care. Like, obviously I don't care about ketchup, but, like, in, like, the sense of, like, you know, goals and things that you want to accomplish. Like, if you're scared, it probably means that you care about the outcome, which isn't a bad thing at all.
It's something that, like, you don't want to mess up, really. When you care a lot about something, I think the biggest fear is one, not going about it in the right way, and then two, you're scared to mess it up. Three, like there's just that's when all the overthinking starts, because you're like, oh, like, yes, I want to do that. And when you have that feeling, you have to just do it, because like you'll lose that in like 10 seconds, because then you'll start thinking about all the bad things.
Well, I think that's gonna be it for this week. Yeah, thank you for coming on and speaking and listening to my thoughts.
I'm excited for you guys to see.
And I promise they won't all be this. Well, they probably will all be this all over the place, because I'm just gonna be me the whole time. But I'm excited to see what happens.
I'm excited for you.
And now she goes back home, and I never see her again.
Yep, to home I go. And I'm
kidding.
Yep. Oh my god, the cat.
Okay.
The cat hair from my leggings is.
Wait, like my cat?
Yes.
My cat.
I asked you if you had a lint roller and you didn't respond. But so there's cat hair on my leggings and now it's on the chair.
That's unfortunate.
Not Lotus following me everywhere.
Anyways, that's all. Thanks.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
Bye, people.